You know, when you watch pro tennis on TV, you see all the glamour, right? The champagne, the Rolexes, the giant checks. It looks like this life of just unbelievable wealth. But what if I told you that for most professional players, that's a complete fantasy? The reality is a financial grind that would surprise pretty much everyone. So let's break down what it really costs to make it in pro tennis.
Okay, let's just start at the very top. $3.1 million. That's what a player can pocket for winning a single Grand Slam. I mean, it's an absolutely insane amount of money, isn't it? And it's exactly this kind of payday that makes all of us think every single pro player is living a life of luxury.
But see, that's for the champion. What about the person who isn't holding that trophy at the end of the 2 weeks? Let's zoom out from the winner's circle for a second and look at the player ranked, say, 150th in the world. As you're about to see, their financial reality isn't just a little different, it's a completely different universe.
So to really understand this massive gap between the very top and, well, everyone else, you just have to follow the money. And in the world of tennis, that money trail really starts with the 4 biggest events on the planet, the Grand Slams.
The 4 Grand Slams, the Australian Open, the French Open, Wimbledon, the US Open, they're so much more than just tennis tournaments. They're these huge 2-week-long festivals that generate hundreds of millions of dollars from TV rights, sponsorships, ticket sales, you name it. This is the giant pool of cash that those huge winners' checks are drawn from.
But even a top player like John Isner is quick to point out the flaw in this picture. He once said, "Most people just look at the prize money. They don't see the other side of it." He's basically inviting us to do exactly that. So let's flip the coin and take a hard look at this other side.
And that other side? Well, it's all about the costs. We've seen the potential earnings, but what about the day-to-day, year-to-year expenses? This is where we really find the financial break-even point for a career in professional tennis.
This is something most people just don't realize. Tennis players, they aren't employees of a team. They're basically independent contractors running their own small business, and every single expense comes straight out of their own pocket. And just look at these costs. Coaching alone can run you $80,000 a year. Flights and hotels add another 60 grand easy. And then you've got physio, fitness. Heck, even just stringing your rackets costs a small fortune. It all piles up incredibly fast.
So when you add all of that up, you get to this absolutely staggering number, over $180,000. And let me be really clear here. That's not to get rich. That's not profit. That is just the amount of money a player has to earn simply to not lose money in a given year.
And for almost every player outside of that top tier, that 180 grand has to come from one place and one place only, prize money. Which brings us to a really fascinating question. What kind of ranking do you need? I mean, how good do you actually have to be just to cover your own costs?
The answer is pretty incredible. You have to be ranked around 150th in the entire world. Just let that sink in for a second. In a global sport played by millions of people, only about 150 men and 150 women are actually earning enough prize money to make a living. If you rank below that, you are almost certainly losing money year after year just to stay on tour.
So why is that cutoff so brutal? Well, it's because the entire financial structure of pro tennis is what economists would call a winner-take-all market.
I mean, just look at how fast the prize money plummets. A winner at a big tournament might get $500,000, but a quarterfinalist, they get a tenth of that. And if you lose in the very first round, you might walk away with 7 grand, which, barely covers your flight and hotel for the week. The financial cliff here is just incredibly steep.
And this prize structure, it's totally deliberate. It's based on something called tournament theory. The whole logic is, if you make the grand prize absolutely huge, it pushes everyone in the tournament to play their absolute best, which makes for better entertainment for us, the fans. It's a great theory for the spectators, but it creates a brutal financial reality for almost every single player who isn't winning the whole thing.
And hey, to put this all in perspective, just compare it to other sports. In leagues like the NBA or the NFL, players get around half, 50% of all the revenue. In tennis, the players, the entire reason people are watching in the first place, get only about 17% of the money the Grand Slams bring in. The disparity is just massive.
So if the prize money is this skewed, how do the top players get so unbelievably rich? It's not just from those winners' checks. We're now getting to the real prize in pro tennis, sponsorships.
And this is where the entire financial model of a player's career just completely flips on its head. For that 150th ranked player we talked about, prize money is everything. It's their entire livelihood. But for a top 10 superstar, prize money is practically a rounding error.
Their real income comes from off the court.
For the superstars of the sport, their on-court winnings are just this tiny little slice of their total earnings. The life-changing money, the generational wealth, it all comes from massive endorsement deals with watch brands, car companies, fashion labels, and that is a revenue stream that is completely inaccessible to players ranked outside of that elite group.
So, the result of all this is a massive, and I mean massive, financial divide in the sport. But the good news is, the governing bodies are finally starting to acknowledge that this is a problem. So, what's actually being done to create a fairer financial model?
And there are some genuinely promising signs. The men's tour now has something called a baseline program that guarantees a minimum income for the top 250 players, which is a huge deal for covering those costs we talked about. We're also seeing new profit-sharing deals, so players get a bigger piece of the pie. And maybe most importantly, the Grand Slams are finally upping the prize money for those early round losers, giving more players a stable financial floor to stand on.
So the big question is, are these changes enough? Can they really reshape the sport's economics to create a sustainable career path for more than just a handful of elite players? Or is professional tennis just destined to remain a game where, financially, only a very, very few can ever truly win?